أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, we start by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we send our salam and salawat on Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We're going through the journey of Quran, and due to the holiday time and school holidays, we said we're gonna go through the shorter surah of the Quran that we found in the last juz of the Quran. And in that journey, we started from Surah Al-Bayyinah, and we kept going in our journey and explained all the surah before that. So the last week we talked about two surah together. We talked about Surah Al-Asr and a very quick and short description of Surah Al-Asr, the importance of time, and what Subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the four commandments that Allah Subhanahu wa ta'ala gives, that these are the four characteristics that a believer should have if they don't want to be in the group of the khasirun, the people who are loser. Then we said the last surah in the Quran about the Akhirah was Surah Al-Humaza, and وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. That was the last surah that where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the severe punishment of the hellfire. And according to a lot of mufassirun, we said that that is the surah that has the very vivid picture of how the punishment will be done for those who are either humaza or lumaza, meaning either they are backbiting or slandering people in the back of the people or in front of the people, and who are running after the well. They are collecting the money, and they have no intention and no attention toward the akhirah. Now today we're going to talk about the last 10 surah of the Quran, not all the surah. What I mean here, actually, there is the concept. There is a group. It's a separate group of surahs in the last 10 surahs. So we're just going to talk about the group, and in the following next 2-3 weeks, before the school holidays finishes, we'll pick one or two surah from this last 10 surah, and inshallah ta'ala we'll talk about those. Now this last 10 surah, as we know that this 10 surah doesn't talk about the akhirah that much time. It's all these 10 surah are connected to the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So these surahs has a connection with different event in the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The surahs, these 10 surahs begins with the dua of Ibrahim. One of the hadith Prophet Muhammad said, I am the fruit of the dua of Ibrahim. That's what Prophet said, and he said, I am also the glad tidings from Isa, and I am the dua, the fruit of the dua of Ibrahim, and I am the glad tidings of my brother Isa. So we know in the Quran that we find the story of Ibrahim a lot of places, starting from Surah Al-Baqarah and other places, and we find that he made different times, he made different dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why he is a special prophet. That's why he called the father of all the prophets, and he is one of the two prophets. After Prophet Muhammad, he is a Khalil of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's a very close friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not only that, we know from the hadith of Isra al Miraj, when Prophet went up and meet all the important prophets there, when he came back, the Sahaba asked him, how did Musa look like? How did Isa look like? How did Yusuf look like? And they asked, how did Ibrahim look like? So Prophet in reply said, Ibrahim looked just like me. So his feature and Ibrahim's feature was very, very similar. And that's why when he met Ibrahim alayhi salam in the seventh heaven, Ibrahim alayhi salam told him, give him salam, as he called him as a son, because he is as if he's his son. So in the Surah Al-Baqarah, we find a special dua from Ibrahim alayhi salam. And the first few surahs in the group of the last 10 is related to this dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam. This dua we found in Surah Al-Baqarah and ayah number 126. If you open the Quran and if you start reading from 126 to 129, these 4 or 5 ayahs are related to the Ibrahim and Ismail. Which event is that? When they were making the Kaaba, when they are raising the foundation of the Kaaba as per the instruction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when he was raising the Kaaba, he makes some dua for the city, because this is the place he never come from. As you all know, Ibrahim alayhi salam from Iraq, he's from that part of the world. But Allah told him to keep his journey on and go to this valley where there is no human being, nothing at all, no tree, nothing, is desert all around there. And he said, you have to raise something here. You have to raise, you have to make a house, you have to make Baytullah, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in here. And that's why he was following the instruction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. and he made this dua. He said, وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ اجْعَلْ لِي هَذَا بَلَدًا آمِنًا. Meaning he's saying, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh my Rabb, oh my Lord, make this city the one that has Amina. Amina means which is a peaceful city. A city that has protection. A city that has no chaos, no problem from, no attack from outside or anything like this. So he made this dua. Then he said, he continued his dua, he said, وَأَرْزُقْ الْأَحْلَى مِنَ السَّمَرَاتِ. And he's saying, and urzuk means, give provision, give risk to the people, some fruits. Fruits here basically means that, give them provision, give them water, give them food, so that people in there, because if there is a city which is peaceful, it is protected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but if there is no food, there is no job, there is no provision, obviously you can't live in that city. The city is only, the peaceful city is not enough. You have to have your food, you have to have your job, you have to have some economy going on there. So he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, give some economy here, give some provision here. And then he said, min amana minhum billahi, meaning give the fruits and everything to the people who believe in you. So he's asking for a specific group of people. He said, make this city peaceful, and in this city I know there will be people who will believe in you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just for them, give your provision, give your risks to them. But in reply to that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying that, قَالَ وَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَأُمِتُّهُ قَلِيلًا. Allah saying, no, even who disbelieve in me, in the city, that city, there will be some people, I know they will be disbelievers. Even for them, I will provide something, for some time. So, not only for the Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, whoever is living in the city, I will provide for them also. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and then summa adtarrahu ila al-azab an-nari wa bi'sal masir. Meaning it also saying that, after that, so this disbeliever, they will enjoy the life of the dunya for some time, but then they will go to the hellfire, the azab al-amin. So this is kind of a dua. So in this dua, we see that Ibrahim alayhi salam asking for a few things. He's asking for the peaceful of the city. He's asking for provision of the city for the Muslim. But Allah saying, no, I'll provide for everybody. Let's look at another dua, which is two ayahs after this one. So these are the last 10 surah. I just wanted to show you. If you come back again. In ayah number 129, Ibrahim alayhi salam is continuing. He's saying, oh our Lord, and send among them a messenger. Okay. Rabbana wa ba'asu fihim rasulan minhum. So now he's asking to see in this city, he asked for the peacefulness, protection of the city. He asked for have a good economy of the city. Now he's saying it's not enough. I know, because Allah said, there will be disbeliever among them. So Ibrahim alayhi salam was very smart. So he know, if in a city there are people who are not believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they need guidance. And for guidance, he's asking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, among these people, send a messenger from them. And that is the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam, that, Allah accepted the dua and he sent Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as you all know, after Ismail, Ismail was a Nabi, and he raised up, actually he is also from Iraq, but he grew up in Makkah. He got married in Makkah. So he stayed to the tribe of the Meccan tribe, whatever tribe was there. He married in there, he lived there. But after Ismail, there is no other prophet from there. Long time, thousands of years passed away, no prophet. After lot of thousands of years later, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and he sent the last prophet, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he's saying that he also mentioning actually what should be the job of that prophet. What should he do in this city? He's saying he should وَمِنْهُمْ إِتْلُ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِكَ. So he should explain your ayah, your sign. So meaning, and the Quran is one of the sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He should explain the Quran, okay? And then he's saying, وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابِ. And he should teach them the book, the law. Kitab here also means the law. So he should have to teach them the law, wal-hikmah. And also the sunnah of the hikmah. All of the meaning of hikmah is the sunnah, the wisdom. What is the wisdom of this book? What is the wisdom of ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ. And he will purify them. إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. You are the ultimate authority. So these are the two main du'as that we will see that's connected to the last 10 surah of this group. Let's go to the surahs here. The first one, the protection of the city, and as you all know the story of Suratul Fil. Suratul Fil, what it talks about? It talks about an event that happened in the year Prophet Muhammad was born. And you all know this, even our kids, they know the story that a evil king, Abraha, from the other side of the Arab land, he heard that someone built a house and they're worshipping, they are putting their idols in this Kaaba. People coming every year to do Hajj in there. Okay, the disbeliever also have their own Hajj, their own type of Hajj. So he became jealous of the city and jealous of the Kaaba. So he built his own Kaaba, but it was not as popular. So he out of the angerness and jealousy, he said, I'm going to destroy this city with my soldier of elephant. And he went there, and you all know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let him come to the door of the Kaaba, to the boundaries of the Kaaba, but they couldn't move forward anymore, and Allah destroyed them. So this is how Allah showing that the dua of Ibrahim when he asked for وَجَعَلْنَا هَذَا بَلَدَ الْآمِنَ, make the city peaceful. So Allah protected the city. And the Kaaba is always protected. We know from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu that in Makkah and Medina, Dajjal can also never enter. The greatest fitna that human beings will have, the fitna of Dajjal. Even Dajjal cannot cross the gate of Makkah and Medina because these two cities are the Haramain and they are protected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what Allah talked about in Surah Al-Fil. Later on, in Surah Al-Quraysh, the next surah, what did Allah say here? لِإِلَافِ قُرَيْشِ إِلَافِهِمْ رِحْلَةَ الشِّتَاءِ وَالصَّيْفِ. Allah is talking about their trade that they do in winter and summer. And Allah saying, you are able to do this trade because you are the protector of this house. And I have protected you from the hunger and from the khawf, min ju'i and min khawf, because the fairness inside you. All this has been protected because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them provision. Why they are able to do trade? Because at that time doing trade was difficult. Because when you are crossing from one city to another city, you have a lot of people, a lot of tribes. They come and they actually rob you, they hijack you. There's no police, there's no border security, nothing like that. But because Quraysh, and that's why Allah named the surah Quraysh, because Quraysh is the upper class of the tribe. They are in the elite class. And why? They are the protector and the maintainer of the Kaaba. At that time, all the people's gods, whatever they used to believe, the idols, are inside them, inside the Kaaba, and they are the protector of this. So that's why they cannot touch. When Quraysh used to do trading, the business from Makkah to Syria or Syria to Makkah in winter and the summertime, nobody can touch them because they are the elite class. They know he is from the tribe of Quraysh. We cannot do anything for them. So that's why Allah is saying, just like Ibrahim alayhi salam asked that give them food, give them provision, give them economy. Allah said that yes, I have given to them. The next surah Allah said that when Ibrahim alayhi salam said give it to only the Muslim, but Allah said no, there will be disbeliever in that city, and I will provide for them for some time. So now in the next surah Allah is saying, even Allah give them the Kaaba, Allah give them the opportunity to look after the Kaaba and the honor to be a maintainer of the Kaaba. Still after that, Allah provided and Allah protected the city. Still after that, they are people, they are disbeliever. And Allah mentioned almost 5 or 6 characteristics of the disbeliever. Why they are disbeliever? What is the problem with them? Is it only that they don't believe in Allah? Actually, they used to believe in Allah. The people of Makkah, they know the word Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their only problem was they had other idols, they make partner of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to Allah, even after that, they have some other characteristic that Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Maun, رَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. They used to tell lie about the deen, okay? فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدْعُو الْيَتِيمِ. They used to push the orphan. وَلَا يَحُدُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. They never used to give food to the poor. They have no soft heart for the poor and the downtrodden of the society. And then also they have they were the lazy in their prayer, and we'll talk about this surah inshallah. Surah Al-Maun is a very interesting surah what Allah subhanahu mentioned. And even for the little maun means a little help. It's a little help, meaning if I'm writing, I need to have a pen, and if you have a pen, if I ask, brother, can you borrow your pen for 5 minutes? I need to write it. That kind of help, even that they used to deny. They are so cheap, their mentality was so poor that even for that little help, they were ma'un, meaning they are the cheap people. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'un. Then Allah said, Inna atayna qal qawsar. The opposite of that. The people who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Rasul that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, for them, they are cheap. They are not giving a little things to the other people. But if you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if you give something in this world, Allah will give you something like Al-Kawsar. And what is Al-Kawsar? There's different description of Al-Kawsar. One of the description, as you all know, that it's a river in the Jannah, and it comes from the word kasir. So anything in abundance is Al-Kawsar. anything and any barakah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Al-Kawthar. And in that surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned it, Inna a'tanaka al-Kawthar, fasalli li rabbika wanhar. When you do pray, fasalli, do it for li rabbika, for your Lord. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar, and make sacrifice. Wanhar means sacrifice, and inna shaniyaka huwal abtar. And Allah said, your enemy, Ya Rasulullah, your enemy, these disbeliever people who are your enemy now, they will be cut off from their name. Their name will never be remembered in the history. They will be cut off from everything. And that's what happened. How many people we know the names of the people who tortured Rasulullah? If you study Syria, you know that. But nobody remembers them. Nobody worships them. They are completely gone from the face of the world. And then Allah said, this disbeliever, because he give them the believer the gift of Al-Kawthar, the next surah Allah make a separation, a conflict, that because they are disbeliever and another group is the believer. So he make a separation, a clear distinction between the kafirun and mu'minun. That's why at the end of this surah, Surah Al-Kafirun, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Lakum dinukum waliyadin. So once you give your message, I have sent you a messenger in the city, and the messenger did his job, but still they disbelieve because of their nature, because of their cheap nature, because of their mentality, they disbelieve on him. If that is the case, then there is no mingling together. So you are separate and they are separate. Their deen, their religion is there, and you are here because you have given the message. So lakum dinukum waliyadin. And because of this conflict of faith and disbelief, the winner will be you, Ya Rasulullah, and your follower. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, Iza za'a nasrullahi wal fath. They know that, look at the people, when the people will come in groups, and you will see the victory. Okay, so he mentioned the victory of the faith, victory of the iman in Surah Al-Nasr, and also the same way. So there's two groups in kafirun. The lakum dinukum waliyadin means Prophet has his own deen and his follower, and the disbeliever. So he gave the consequences of that believer first, that the victory, the izaza anasullahi wal fath, Allah's help will come for the people. And we know from the seerah of Rasulullah, even after when Prophet passed away, the Sahaba got the victory. One after one they got victory. They get the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is how Islam spread, with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they were stick to the path of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But on the other hand, who were disbeliever, to give a sample example to the people that what's going to happen to this kind of people, Allah bring the Surah Al-Lahab. And in Surah Al-Lahab, Allah picked the person, Abu Lahab, as you all know, and he showed in the Quran that what's going to happen if a person openly disbelieves in Rasulullah and he make mockery of Rasulullah, he make joke out of him, he does all the bad things possible, he and his wife. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned as simply that he will be in the masad. So there will be a rope, masad as you all know, it will be in the hellfire there will be a rope, it will be around his neck and his hand, and for the same thing for his wife. So Allah picturized this thing. And he took an example from the disbeliever group and showed it to the people, and that's what we find in Surah Al-Lahab. The next three surah is completely the summary of the Quran. See, all these things, all the stories that we are going through, the main point to have faith, to have iman. And iman, what is iman? What is the first pillar of iman? The first pillar of iman is that we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah is one, the tawheed. Qul huwallahu ahad. There's no other comparison with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, and in Surah Al-Ikhlas, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that this is the summary of all the Quran. And this is the reason a lot of scholars say that if you recite, that is the hadith, this is, if you recite Surah Al-Ikhlas 3 times, or 1 time, it is almost the 1/3 of the Quran. Why? Because 1/3 of the Quran talks about the tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you look at the Quran, if you read the Makkan surah especially, it talks about the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why Ikhlas is so powerful, because it summarizes who is Allah basically. What is the definition? What is the Lord that we are worshipping? Who is He? So that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, the sage here. And then once you have iman, once you have tawheed, that you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you need to protect your iman. Iman is not something that is constant. It may change anytime. And we see it in our personal life also. Some of us, we started our life, when we were young, we used to go to madrasa and everything, but then when you grow up, we left it, and then we went to the other side of the dunya. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sometimes they bring it back. The opposite happens also. Some people, they live their young age, when they're under their parents, they lived a very good life of Islamic life. But then later on, they got disarray from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you need protection to keep your faith intact. And there are two kinds of protection you need that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned. One is the external protection, the things that is not under your control. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Falaq. Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq min sharri ma khalaq. So min sharri ma khalaq means all the creation that Allah created, you need protection from them, the evil from the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And from the black magic. And at the end Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the jealousy. If someone is jealous of you, you don't have any control on them. You can't control that jealousy. You don't even know who is jealous of you. But evil eye, jealousy, they exist. So you are asking protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that from this external thing that Allah protect your iman, Allah protect your tawfiq. And then at the end Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say the internal protection. That is, you have control on this. What is that? The waswasa of shaitan. And that's the only point Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Nas. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khannas. Because that is something nobody can control except you. Because shaitan comes to your mind and give waswasa. And if you take it, then you invite shaitan in your heart. If you say no, if you understand, if you can distinguish, no, this is not from my mind. This is shaitan is giving me and is telling me to do something that is not Islamic, that is not something that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with. So then you protect from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that shaitan is a constant enemy of us, and that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. And shaitan can be from the man and from jinn. Shaitan is jinn, we know that. But even people, your friends and other people who are not in the right path, they can also give you waswasa. It's not only shaitan, even the other jinn and even the human being, your people. And that's what Prophet said, a lot of hadith. Your friend is very important. Your company is very important. Who are you mixing with? Who are you sitting? Who are you working? These are all important things because their influence can be on your iman, on your tawhid. So this is a quick summary of the 10th surah of the last 10th surah of the Quran. Inshallah ta'ala, next week we'll pick maybe Surah Al-Maun or some one or two surah because we don't have time to do each of the surah, inshallah ta'ala. And previously I did some of the smaller surah like Surah Al-Falaq and Nas and Surah Al-Ikhlas. We already have explained in some gatherings. So inshallah ta'ala, may Allah forgive us and may Allah keep us with our true iman. Jazakallahu khairan. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.